Welcome to Inside Marketing with Market Surge, your front row seat to the boldest ideas and smartest strategies in the marketing game. Your host is Reed Hansen, Chief Growth Officer at Market Surge.
Hello and welcome back. Today on Inside Marketing with Market Surge, we're joined by Len Ward, a former Wall Street VP turned digital marketing pioneer, and now managing partner at Commexis, where he's helping businesses lead the charge in the AI era. Len's career began at Morgan Stanley and Credit Suisse during the dot-com boom. That was real boom times, an era that taught him firsthand how new technologies can upend all kinds of industries really overnight. That curiosity led him into entrepreneurship. He built an e-commerce business from scratch, taught himself SEO, paid media, and digital growth before founding and scaling his own full-service marketing firm. Today, Len brings together financial insight, marketing expertise, and AI innovation. He's here to share what is really happening at the intersection of AI, marketing, and business strategy, and why leaders need to rethink their approach right now if they want to stay competitive. Thanks for joining, Len.
Thanks for having me, Reed.
Clearly, I'm like, my tongue is stumbling today, but I am so glad you're here. Now, you have seen many eras in financial booms and busts, and particularly you were in Wall Street when the dot-com boom was happening. Now, that was obviously a period of great disruption, wide adoption of the internet, e-commerce technologies, and whatnot. And today we're seeing a big adoption of AI, or at least a big upending of a lot of industries. Do you see any parallels between that time period? Anything that's instructional that we can learn from your experience from how business leaders can prepare?
Yeah, the similarities, it's funny because I just actually had a conversation with somebody, and the similarities that I'm seeing right now is there was a lot of skepticism in the dot-com era, and I think it was blind investing. But I do think a lot of people questioned what was going on, and they were questioning the investment, they were questioning the technology. But anytime somebody actually went on the internet and used any type of digital tools, which again was all new back then, even things like email and so forth, that's a little bit predating the dot-com era. But there was definitely a lot of skepticism. There was a lot of excitement for it and so forth. I'm starting to see the same thing now. You're starting to see a lot of pushback on the investments. You're starting to see a lot of people saying, where's the ROI? And a lot of people are questioning jobs and questioning the future of business the same way they were questioning that stuff 98, 99, 2000. I'm starting to see those same questions right now. Where the paths are separating is, I think everybody in the room with internet, when we were sitting in boardrooms, conference rooms, meetings, and things like that years ago, everybody knew that there was a runway. Like you had a bit of a runway to go, and this build out was going to take some time.
Yeah.
The problem with AI is that we're not going to have that type of runway. We're not going to have 25 years to let this digital thing grow out. I still think there's a massive undertaking, data centers, electricity, all of that type of people getting to know what AI is. We still have that, but it's not going to take years and years to build out. I think you're looking at 2 to 5 years before this thing could be fully built out and implemented in our daily lives to the point where we won't know what to do without AI, much the same way right now. If you were to tell somebody, take the internet away from me permanently right now, how would you function? 90% of the population is going to say, not good. We'll be doing the same thing with AI. It's just that the speed of AI is where this is differing. It's really coming out as fast.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I know you were in, rather than like directly in the tech role, you were in finance. In that time period, obviously I think it made a lot of millionaires, a lot of successful people. What was the impetus to leave finance and go into entrepreneurship and digital marketing?
Fell into this. So basically, my Wall Street time came to an end with Credit Suisse. And there is, again, the term runway again, there is a bit of runway on Wall Street where, it's some people have long, great, illustrious careers on Wall Street. And a lot of people put their time in and then they check out. And that's where I was through a merger with the last company I was with, Credit Suisse. I was part of one of the casualties of the merger and so forth. So I had to figure out what I was going to do. And I actually had, between a severance package and having a couple bucks, I was like, all right, I'm going to go try to buy a business on my own. I want to do something on my own, and I just want to try to figure something out. So I met a few different people that had their businesses for sale, and then we stumbled upon a business, an event ticketing business is what it was. So I stumbled upon a gentleman who was selling the event ticket business. We sat down with him, and we walked away and realized, why am I going to spend this all this money buying this business when I could turn around and buy this inventory myself.
Yeah.
So that's how it all started. But right when I was buying it was right when people were starting to buy things online. That's when things were StubHub, which is now everybody, that's a household name. All things like that was really starting to rise. So we moved in and we basically said, all right, we're going to start our own business. So we started from the ground up, and it was a complete divergence from where I was on Wall Street over to here. But the reason that drew me here was that my clients that I was entertaining on Wall Street, we always had to go in and buy really high-end tickets for them, high-end Broadway, high-end sports, high-end concerts. And I remember the amount of money that we were paying these brokers. I'm like, man, what a business this is. And long story short, when I stumbled upon it, I'm like, let me give it a shot. And it ran pretty well, but that e-commerce showed me that. So I took everything I learned from the dot-com era of watching these companies talk to management, why you should invest in this and why Wall Street should believe in this future. And I took a lot of that knowledge and I brought it over to the e-commerce side as I saw this digital world really starting to build out. And that's what kind of started setting me in flight in a digital world all the way back in 04, 05 is when I really started doing it.
Wow. So quite early.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's been a lot of changes over the last few decades, and it's nice to have some. There aren't many with decades of experience that can speak with that perspective. You said that we're moving from a world of where search and retrieve was like the primary function of technology to now it's solve my problem. Now, can you unpack those two different approaches and why that is becoming such a big shift for marketers?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question. And that's one of the things that it's like the hill I'm dying on right now, I guess you could say, or that I'm ready to die on. Search and retrieve is simple. You would go search for a product on Google, Yahoo, whatever search engine you're using, Google, and you would look at all the links, right? And you would start clicking through those links and you would try to solve your problem by gathering all of that information and saying, okay, after this blog or after maybe I looked at this video or I went to this website, I'm beginning to understand how I'm going to solve my problem. And that's how people were doing things. That's how we were marketing forever. It was like, okay, we're going to just put all the information out there and we're going to let the user solve their problem. And that's how you market it. That's how you build campaigns. That's how companies build businesses all around that content, video, text, whatever it may be. Now we're moving over to the world of solve my problem. So with ChatGPT, with Perplexity, with Claude, even with Google Answers, the actual AI that Google puts up right up top when you search something, you're basically putting your problem in and you don't have to go do all that work anymore. The problem is solved immediately. You're looking at that answer and saying, here's what I'm thinking about, here's the answer, and it's right to it. So you don't have to scroll through all these websites. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to be on websites. Even on websites, you're looking for your answer. Now on websites, you can actually put AI chatbots which solve your answer. So it's a very unique world where before you're trying to position content to get eyeballs on that content, to understand the content and show why your company solves that company's problem or that company's problem or that individual's problem, over to individuals and companies are now like, solve my problem, and boom, the answer is right in front of them. We are headed for a massive shift in marketing, lead generation, and so forth. And it's actually already here.
Okay. Well, obviously the enabling AI just is such a game changer. And now you've used the term AI workflow engineering. Tell us a little bit about what that is, and maybe if you have any examples of how a company could use it to cut waste in sales or operations. You mentioned the support bot on the website. Are any other examples come to mind?
I think that is the one we'll probably home in on because it's the easiest to understand. There is quite a bit you can do in things called vibe coding with products called Lovable, Replit, and so forth. So maybe we'll touch on that a little bit. But the easiest way for people to understand is, if you're an e-commerce company, or if you're a company that has, maybe you're a B2B manufacturing company and you have very in-depth products and you have to search the website to really identify the products, or maybe somebody's coming to your website because they have a project and they know that they need you to make a custom product for them, or maybe they're coming as an e-commerce visitor and there's a certain type of product they're looking for. AI chatbots are great because it harvests all the information that's on your website and in what's called a data room, data lake, however you want to refer to it, where you put all your owner manuals, user manuals, all of that, like in a room, and it pulls all that information. And when a user goes to the website, it can then ask a question and say, I'm looking for XYZ because I'm doing this type of project. And that chatbot will look at all of the information you have there and actually create an in-depth conversation with the individual and say, this is what you most likely need because of. And it comes back with that. It's very different than somebody may be thinking, I just put a search bar on my website and it comes up. No, that's still search and retrieve. This has solved my problem. That's a workflow where typically you would have to interact with a real live chat person on a website. A lot of people operate their own live chats, or they have to call the company or email the company. That's a workflow process now that if you have the data organized, if you build the chatbot properly on the website, and there's a lot of great off-the-shelf solutions, and most importantly, if you train it the right way, that now eliminates workflow issues of customer service, making sure they can help get these customers to the finish line and purchase a product and so forth. Or it actually will help sales because you're arming the individual with all the information they really need to know. So when they do fill out that contact form, now the sales is getting a really high quality lead that they're pretty much on the goal line. They could just have to punch that ball in per se to get the sale. So that's what I mean by workflow. You really want to identify where there's bottlenecks. There's too many people involved, and you have to talk to the consumer. And when you have that and you identify those bottlenecks, and that's simply an AI blueprint, at that point you can then start thinking about AI workflows. Either you're custom building using vibe coding, or you pull it off the shelf and you implement it. And now that's where you're moving into AI workflows. And that's where it starts integrating into your business. And you, at that point, are in flight on AI.
Okay, vibe coding is actually something I'm interested in. I've dabbled in it a bit. I use Cursor, for instance, as you may be familiar with. And I don't have a coding or technology background. So I've been pretty impressed with what I can do. How do you feel like, is the average marketer able to take this? Or do you think that this is something that accelerates the developers and shortens their development time? Where do you see these vibe coding tools fitting in that, the AI workflow building process?
Oh, I think that's a great question. I think a lot of people are wondering what's happening with vibe coding. To me, vibe coding, the best thing it can do right now for marketers is you're now going to create marketing assets at scale, whether it be landing pages, whether it be some sort of calculator, whether it be some sort of problem-solving software, whatever it may be. Typically, that would take a long time as a marketer. You have to go contract some sort of team to come in and build it. It can get really expensive really fast. When I keep saying we're moving into a solve my problem world for marketing, vibe coding is going to become one of your most important assets. You're going to have to start thinking about what the consumer problem is, and then however you want to go about coming up with the idea, ChatGPT, Claude, or even just your own team, and start creating products that are going to solve your customer's problem if you're in the marketing world. So vibe coding is going to become a major part of your business. And if it's not, and if you're pushing back on that, I would highly recommend not to do that if you're in the marketing world, because your client is going to expect vibe code products to be up, running, and hosted within days. And you're going to be able to need to do this. So I think it has an integral role in marketing. And I can always get into the crazy world where I do believe marketing ultimately is going to move into agent-to-agent marketing. We can get into that at another point. But that's where I think vibe coding is even going to be more important. So vibe coding to me is really going to move into a very important spot for marketers. And I've said, if you typically have a background in content writing, maybe you're a creative director, art director to a point, but even an SEO person, you know how to you have language a lot of people don't understand. You know how to find something really quick. You'll be surprised how well SEO's knowledge transfers over to a vibe coding product and how they talk about what they're looking to build because they're trying to solve a problem. So SEO is one of the best things you can do to preserve your career right now is get to know vibe coding, get to know it back and forth, because you'll be surprised how much your skills are going to transfer over in the vibe coding world.
I love it. I found it such an empowering experience. It's just, like you said, it speeds everything up. It gets me closer to the development. I had some experiences where I've made some apps from scratch and others where I've had a really good start and I've had a technical person come in and finish. So lots of opportunity there. And you were touching on this, obviously AI, workflow engineering, all these things we're talking about are going to affect roles in the marketing function. Now, when you talk about SEOs, I think this is going to be super empowering for them. Are there roles that are at risk? Are there roles that are going to evolve? Where do you see maybe potential new opportunities for marketing?
Yeah, so I'm very blunt in my over 2 decades now experience. I remember when we were back in the ticket business and we looked at things like StubHub, Live Nation, Ticketmaster starting to sell tickets, even when you were able to buy tickets for certain types of events before the public was. But we knew that companies like StubHub was an existential threat to if you were an individual ticket seller. We knew it was going to be a bit of a problem. And I look at this as in the marketing world as a beyond an existential threat. I think, and I've said this before on another podcast, I'm like, if there's 10 people in a room that are marketing, they're like, that's their career, it's going to be down to 2 within the next 18 months to 24 months. I actually do believe that. And we are all in the marketing space. So I'm talking very candidly. My thought process is, and this is something I talk to people about, become an AI pilot. Understand how to use AI. Understand that, like even Commexis right now, we've built entire AI marketing stacks that could literally replace a marketing department tomorrow. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say it being mean, and we have a couple really excellent people on my team where they can come in and they AI pilot it, and it runs a pretty large marketing team. That's going to be a reality. The reality is you're going to walk into a company, AI stacks are going to be there waiting for you. You're going to sit down in the cockpit and you're going to be flying these things. So that's my best recommendation for anybody getting in marketing. You need to get to AI. You need to understand business processes because that is so important when you're thinking about AI and solving problems and marketing and all of that. It's not just, how can I position this product great or this is a really good tagline. I'm not saying that stuff's not important, but really understand the business side of things, understand the finance side of things, and understand AI. You got to make it your life. I have come across quite a few marketers who are pushing back. There are people who are like, SEO is not going to die and it's going to be this. It is, guys. Come on. Do you really? ChatGPT is at 1 billion users a week right now. If you don't think Google's not looking over its shoulder saying, we got a problem on our hands, and SEO lives in a world where, again, search and retrieve opposed to solve my problem. So, yeah, there are some people, copywriters, SEO, programmers, web developers, like we're all at risk, but the ones that aren't at risk are the ones that know how to leverage the AI tools, and they can now do more jobs than just SEO. They're able to sit around and be like, I can handle almost anything for marketing because I'm an AI pilot, and I sit at your stack and I run it. So that is my thought process, but I do push back firmly on people who say, no, SEO is not dying or marketing is not going away. It's not, but the amount of people doing it is absolutely going to go away. And that's unfortunately where we're headed in the marketing world.
Okay. All right. I guess maybe let's talk a little bit about some of the misconceptions that people have. You're getting marketers pushing back. I'm sure there are executives that have been in their industry, very specialized knowledge for decades. And now everything's on its head with AI from a human capital standpoint and designing your workforce. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that these leaders have about AI adoption? And do you have any advice for them? How do you get on board? How do you get up to speed and make this an asset for your organization?
You mean like questions where they're doubting the AI?
Or yeah, exactly. Or even just maybe they're willing and interested, but they envision AI doing something that it's just not ready to do. Have you seen any examples of that?
Oh, yeah. I think that's one of the biggest problems the stock market's looking at right now. The stock market's being fueled a lot of times. I know institution controls the market, but the retail investor is massive. And you have people investing in AI products right now that just clearly are not, the revenue does not equal out to what the stock is trading at. So we also live in a highlight world. We all know that, TikTok world, and everything's a highlight. And we're expecting this AI thing just to happen immediately. Like, I think, unfortunately, and here I am, the old man on the lawn, I think a lot of times with the younger generation, they're looking at and saying, they just sit and look at videos and they see the highlights of all the great things that have happened, but they don't understand the blood, sweat, and tears underneath it that get you to that point. And that's a big problem right now. And that's something where I think kids don't understand how hard it is to get there. Like, we have a massive build out on AI we have to take care of. Yes, the world is going to look great at that point, but we do have a build out. So when I do speak with business owners, I do give them that. I'm like, we have to understand that we are in the first inning, maybe the top half of the first inning. Things look, and I show them, we just put a couple demos right in front of them. It blows them away. If there's any doubt on AI, we literally run a couple of LLMs. We build a quick vibe coding product for them right in front of them. And we do a chatbot. And right away, they're like, okay, the world's forever changed. It's easy to get somebody on board with AI once you show them the products and that they look at it. So when they do doubt that, or they say, hey, I'm thinking about it, that's when we start saying, ask me the last time you went through a day and you have not heard the term AI, ChatGPT, OpenAI, or something along those lines. And they say, well, I can't, because most business owners are heavily involved in the stock market because they're paying attention to it. They want to see what's going on. Yeah. You can't turn on CNBC or look at the Wall Street Journal without AI being 70% of the news. So convincing them is not hard that it's the future. getting them to invest in it is a whole different game. The way to get them to invest in it is showing them the actual business outcomes are going to happen if they implement it now and how long that's going to take. I do caution business owners who think we're going to wipe out 50% of our personnel. I don't think mass layoffs are going to happen immediately. So I'm like talking a little, going off the rails a little bit with the conversation, but the most important thing we tell business owners right now is you have to embrace it immediately. You're not going to have a 25-year runway like you have with the internet. Identify one or two people in your company that you think are tech savvy, understand all the business processes, and let them lead your AI desk. And normally when you have that conversation, that's how it works. But the minute a company does one AI product and they see what it does, now they embrace the true magic of AI. So hopefully that answered your question, a little broad answer.
No, absolutely. And sorry, I was a little meandering, but I'm just interested in, you have a great perspective, and I think you do a great job explaining it in terms that the average marketer or business owner can understand. So thank you for that. Now, Len, if people are interested in working with you, they're a company that would like to introduce more AI into their organization, how can they find you? Where are the best places to reach you?
Best place to go is Commexis.com. You can fill out a form or give us a phone call. When you work with Commexis, you work directly with me. I bring my talented team along. We all work in-house. You get our AI stacks, you get our AI assembly lines. And the good thing about us is we don't take everybody's. We do try to limit, because there's only so much bandwidth, right? Yeah. So we do try to limit who we take, but very easy. And I say it all the time. If anybody wants to pick my brain, have a quick conversation, either reach out to me on LinkedIn or fill out a contact form. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you. Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining, Len.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Reed.
Want to stay ahead of what's actually working in marketing right now? Head over to marketsurge.io and see how we're helping businesses grow smarter, faster, and louder. That's marketsurge.io, because your next breakthrough shouldn't be a guess.